Well, hello. Okay. Well, we're back. I had to cut the other video, the part one, short. It was it was too long. After an hour, I'm pretty sure most people are kind of nodding off. So let's go ahead and do a little review on where we're at with this data structure with the house address and house and building. And let's kind of look at what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to accomplish where we have three objects and they're all related. And the three objects that are related, we're trying to make it with the is a and the has a, inheritance versus composition. So when we think about a house is a building. So the house should inherit from building. Building will be the base class. Or the superclass, as Python would say, which is whatever, doesn't matter. So house inherits from building, but here's the thing: a house has an address. A house is not an address. An address is not a house. A house has an address, or an address has a house. One or the other. You can look at it either way, but obviously we're using a has a relationship, which means that we got to specifically declare an address inside of the house. So we got to take our address object and instantiate it inside of the house object. So the house will have an address. So let's look at the code real quick on where we're at and kind of where we're headed. Let's do just a quick overload of it. And we have the house address. Inside the house address, we have an init where we're assigning an address value. We have a set address, get address. We have a string output. It looks like I forgot this house address here. There we go. So we have a string overload so that we can do just a print of the object and it'll call this instead. So we don't have to use the get address. We can just do a print of the object, the instantiated object name, which is a nice little shortcut on your print statements to make it so your objects can kind of print themselves, the whole object, and therefore you can get quick, easy testing of your object instead of having to call all your get functions. Then we have a building, and in the building we have a size, and we can output the building size. And then we have our house. Now you notice that I've got building declared above house here. Remember, you guys are supposed to be putting these in separate files, but I'm trying to make a point. When you do an include, all you're literally doing is copying, and all's what's happening in the compiler is the code is copy and pasted right before. That's all it is just taking the code and putting it before. That's what you do with an include when you do your import. Of like house address.py or import building.py or import house.py. You would do all that in main. So you would import all three objects and then work with them just in main in a separate py file. But I'm doing it all top down so you can kind of see the relationship that house, before a house can exist, since it inherits from building has to be declared. And we've done the inheritance part, the house it inherits from building. So we've taken care of this little bit, house inheriting from building. The one we haven't done is putting an address in the house. So that means that we're going to have to do a get and set for the address, a variable itself, and then we can work with it. Okay, so we're going to put it in where we put all the other ones, in the init function, and we're going to say self dot the address, I guess, and we're going to say is equal to If I remember right, we just got to go house address with parentheses. And then we can send in the constructor of the size. So we'll pass that down through, because when we instantiate a house, we're sending it the size and the number of buildings, but house address shouldn't be getting a size. That doesn't make sense. Let's look at the constructor for the house address. If we look at the constructor of the house address, we're expecting an address, which means that we need to now pass this address through the house init function. So we can pass it down through to the address object. So we're going to add this here to the init function for the house, and we're going to say here that we want address. And then what we'll do is when we instantiate the address and we run it, we will pass to the constructor the address, and therefore, done. So once you start building on objects, everything just kind of snowballs until you get this huge amount of code and technology and stuff that works with inheritance. And as you get up in the hierarchy, all of a sudden you have a whole technology. And that's how C# and Java is built, is using this technology. It's all object-based. In fact, main is even an object. It's inside of an object. Kind of interesting. They've gone where I've been training students, all this, for many years, that your whole program should be an object. And main just is a one-line instantiation of the object, and your program goes. And then your new main becomes an init function within that object. But I'm getting off topic here. So that's going to handle for being able to get the constructor of the house address object invoked. And we don't have to do setters or getters, because we can just use the house address. I believe, I got an error here. This has got to be underscores, but that's going to be private. So actually, it's not going to do too well. We may need to add some accessors for that. So let's do this. Let's def set. Well, this should be something that we can call. We should be able to call that from main. Let's see if we can call it from main. Set address. Because we should be able to instantiate a house, go to its address, and call the set address function from it. And that's one of the main things of composition, is you use that dot operator to kind of narrow into the data that you're looking for. So we may have completed this. Let's see if we can get it to work now. Yeah, it looks like we might have some issues there. But I think one of the issues is I'm not sending the size and the number of bedrooms or the address. So let's say that it is 1,500 square feet. It is 3 bedrooms, and the address is 112 or 2 whatever blah drive. Oh, I'm writing C++. Okay, now let's see where we can go from here. I'm gonna have some debugging and some errors here. I think I defined main wrong. I think I forgot my parentheses. Some little stuff. And H, I may be instantiating this wrong, but I'm not for sure. That actually might be good. Let's see what we got. Okay. See if we got anything that'll compile and work with us. Come on, code, Visual Studio Code, work and do your magic. Okay. Yeah, I kind of went a little bit on the extension crazy on this thing, and so it's like been a little bit nutty since I installed all the extensions. So it looks like once I get started, though, it seems to be pretty good. It looks like we got a few syntax errors here. Let's look at some of those issues. usually you want to start with the first one if you can see it. But though it kind of does it backwards, so the last one in Python can be significant. Looks like line 45 main. I'm not doing main right. Do they want me to do the silly thing in front of and around it? They probably do. Okay, I'm gonna probably have to go research how to do main right. It's been too long. I'm always writing different languages, and I always have to look around. I'm gonna go look that up, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I got main working. I think some of the higher levels of Python allow you to do this a little bit different. Some of the newer versions, but this one works with my version. Now the next thing I have, the next thing I need to get going is line 43. That's the one that I'm having a problem with. And I'm going to go ahead and set a breakpoint, and we're going to go ahead and start debugging, and I'm going to try to deduce what's going on. So let's go ahead and see. It looks like we got h equals house. Okay, so I'm obviously instantiating the house object wrong, and I'm going to go and look into the code for that. So might be another pause here for you guys. I'll be right back. Okay, so I think it just did not like that let statement. So let's see if this even works. I'm going to do a step into to make sure that the house init function actually works. And then what this should do is all three objects are related, and the house contains all those three objects. So that means that I need to be assigning all those values for those three objects through the constructor of the house. So the house inherits from building, contains an address. We create the house, and we've got to make sure that all three constructors are running and all data is being assigned to this data structure appropriately. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to do a step into, and I'm going to trace through and make sure all this stuff works. And then we're going to do an output. Okay, so I'm going to do a step into. Okay, it did not. Oh, that was just defining it. Interesting. Okay, there we go. Step into. Okay, so the house building. Oh, doesn't like me. House is not defined. Okay, well. Looks like it's pause again. Guys, I'm going to fix this one up and let you know what's wrong. But it looks like it's saying that house is not defined for some reason. Interestingly. Oh, duh. It's because this is why I have problems with Python. And I will talk bad about Python. But I want you to know that Python is extremely relevant to cybersecurity and information technology. And there's a reason why it's relevant. It's because it is very fast development for responsive situations like cybersecurity. And then also in information technology, Python is really good for gathering data and proving out hypotheses and information for scientists that need to easily gather large amounts of data. And they do that through a program called Python and Anaconda together with some specialized functions that are available in Python. So even though I may say bad things about Python, I'm only saying them from the person that is like a purist C or C++ guy. And Python is actually back end is run in C or C++. So it really is just C or C++, just, easier to work with. So once you learn how to program in one language, it makes it a lot easier to program in others. But the problem with this scope and indenting, it just it just drives me insane. But that's why main can't see house, because it's in the wrong scope. It's not at the main scope. So I think I just got to backspace that. And this is not part of the main functions. Did I even pause it? No. Sorry, guys. Yeah, that was me getting a text message and ignoring what I was doing. Yeah. Okay. Let's step into. Oh, I gotta backspace this guy up, and then we gotta stop and rerun it now that we got the right scope. Let's go ahead and run and debug, and we're gonna step into and make sure that everything is working as it should. Okay, so we invoke the house constructor. Good. Now see, here is where we're sending in the size, and this is when it's going to go to the base class, meaning the part of the house that is a building, and it's going to run the building's init function, sending in the size. That's what that super does. It says go to the part of the house that is a building and run the init function and send it size. So this code is going to run the init function of your building, and we're going to set the size. So I'm going to do a step into for that. Okay, cool, that worked. So now we've got our inheritance working. We set the number of bedrooms. Now this is the next one. This is where we are invoking the constructor and instantiating the address that the house has. I'm going to do a step into. Okay, that's working. Okay, so now we have a fully related data structure that we can now print. And here's going to be the interesting part. When I do a print H here, see, I'm actually printing the instantiated name of the house. So it's going to automatically call the house's str function for what to print. So what I can do is I can actually invoke from here print statements of the part of the house that is a building. So we can do that first. So we're going to return a super of the output of the string output of the building. So the building is going to run now. We're going to call on this guy, the string output for that. So now the house is outputting the part of itself that is a building, and then we output the number of bedrooms because that's part of the house object. And then what we can do is we can output the address. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the address here. I'm gonna say plus, and then let's just put in some empty space here. Okay, and then let's just do another plus. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna call on the H address, the addresses underscore str method. Does it have it? Oh no, we got to do dot. Yeah, dot str. There we go. So we're going to call on its string method. And what's going to happen is we're going to be printing everything out through this one print statement H that calls on this output to return a string for printing for the print function to print. That's all it does, is return the string for the print function to print. And H becomes that return string, and then it's printed. So let's look at actually kind of what's going on here. Okay, so now, let me make sure I'm not on pause, just because I'm OCDing. Okay, go ahead and run, start debugging. Okay, all right, we're going to do step into. Okay, now you see that the house str function is being called. If I did a step over, it would just run this line, but I want to do a step into to see what's going on behind the scenes. What I think is going to happen is this guy is going to be called first. And that's going to go to the building's str function. And yep, we're in the building. And the building str function is called. So we return that. I did a step over there. Oops. Okay, so let's continue on. Let's try that again. Start debugging. Step into. Oh, no, that was step over. We might have an error, actually. There might be an error in here. We'll see how that works. Actually, let's just run it and see if it actually even does something without erroring. Run without debugging. No, this is interesting. Nah, heck with it. Set a breakpoint. That's the best way to do it anyways. Okay, step into. This time I'm stepping over. Okay, that's fine. What is it that H has? What does H return? Let's just look. Let's see what kind of problem we have. Okay, there we go. It didn't like that one. Line 25. A building. Oh, that's right. Duh. We're trying to take integer values. We gotta actually do str in front of that. We gotta convert that to a string value. I believe that's the way it's done in Python. Yeah. And then we got to do that for all of the prints that have a number. So this is okay because address is a string. So we don't have to do that. Number of bedrooms needs to be done. So let's look at our output for number of bedrooms. Yep. That has to be done. It's got to be converted to a string before it can be output. Okay. Let's see.
Play from bad.
Oh, yeah. Ignore Alexa. Okay, start. The heck with it. We've done enough. We got it. Let's get in here and step into. Okay, it goes there. Now it's going to go here, and hopefully it won't die. Okay, it goes back. It goes back to the house ad. Oh, no, it goes from the building, and then it goes to the house address to get the house address one. Okay, and then comes back, and we're done printing H. And you'll see in our output, we have successfully driven our data structure. Okay, so we see right here, something blah drive. Yeah, there might be a little bit of some issues there. That's funny. Okay, so it looks like it printed some of it. I'll have to look at what's going on here. But evidently, let's do run without debugging. building size 1500, house number of bedrooms, 3, house address 1232 Blah Drive. Done. That's how you do it. That's what I'm looking for on your final. This is kind of preparing you for your final and talking about inheritance and composition at the same time. So let's look at it all through. House address. Okay. Then we've got our building. Here's our building. Then we have our house. Then we have main that instantiates our house and sets the data for both the house, building, and address. Then we have the print function that prints the data for both the house, building, and address. 2 lines of code that we're going to give somebody that needs to use our house object to do everything that they need to do. And this is what you work with mostly, is these behind the scenes objects that you are now programming for other programmers, not the end user anymore. So I don't give a darn about enter this, enter that. I just want you to drive the object. Test it, put the data in it, check its processing, show its output. In this case, we don't really have any processing. It's just setting the data. And then we're checking the output. That's what lines 43 and 44 are all about. Just testing the object. And that's all I want you to do. Okay, so this is an example of what I'm looking for when you design your data structure for your final, when you get onto that hands-on portion of it. Or I think that's, this is pretty much, you're going to be given a similar scenario, but it's going to be with different object types that you'll have to relate. Okay, guys, so that's it for this set of videos for your last two modules on objects, and this also will prepare you for your final. Thank you.